Hey there, it's Sara from the No More Wasted Days podcast, and I'm so excited for you to listen to today's episode. I had the chance to sit down and interview Pamela. Pamela is a mom and a wife, and she's just over 100 days sober. And in the beginning of her journey, she found support from the 30-day alcohol-free challenge, and today she'll be sharing that journey with you. She went from hiding her drinking and feeling guilty about it to finally having freedom from alcohol. I hope you enjoy this interview, and I hope you can relate as Pamela shares her story. Hi, Pamela. Welcome to the No More Wasted Days podcast, and thank you so much for doing this interview so other people can find out about the 30-day alcohol-free challenge.
Thanks, Sara. I'm glad to be here.
Can you give us a quick introduction of yourself to share a little bit of your life before the alcohol-free challenge?
Sure. I have been just binge drinking on and off since about 17 years old, truly. So this has been a long ordeal with, the alcohol in my life. And most recently, especially with biological, middle age hitting, some perimenopause stuff going on, things were really just starting to fray more and more rapidly. And I knew it is the thing. I knew I was in this downward spiral. But I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready until I was ready. And you'll hear that all the time. It's just, you have to be ready. So a lot of what you said resonated me with when I found you on social. And that's why I continue to follow you. I've got 10 and 11-year-old boys that keep me busy. And I was clearly putting alcohol before my family, before my children, before my husband. I was exhausted. I was cranky. I was getting closer and closer to the bottom in about May of this year. And finally had that, that last bender, if you will, where my husband was fearful that he may need to take me to the hospital for alcohol poisoning, quite frankly. So it was time. That was it's time.
Yeah. And you actually started your alcohol-free journey a little bit before you did the 30-day alcohol-free challenge, but what motivated you to join the challenge?
Well, honestly, I had started following you probably closer to the start of this year. And I wanted to actually hop on board for the April challenge because I knew that I needed to. But again, I just wasn't ready to give it up yet. I just wasn't. So I let that time, continue to go on. I let that downward spiral continue. And again, even though I started at the end of May with my alcohol-free journey, I knew that joining the community of the 30-day challenge was something I needed to do just to continue the upward, continue that momentum.
Yeah, just to keep that going and to give yourself a little extra boost, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect. I have quite a few people join that'll say, "Oh, I'm already this far, but I know this is what I need." And I remember feeling that when I started because I did it all on my own, except for my husband was doing it with me as well. And I remember that's when I started getting curious and going, are there other people out there doing this? And it's like, oh, there are other people. So I'm so glad that I was able to provide that extra community for you with the challenge. What were your biggest concerns and challenges before taking on quitting drinking?
Just that, I was fearful of failure, honestly. I was afraid to continue to disappoint my husband, myself. I was already feeling so guilty and shameful. And I didn't know that I had the strength to succeed. And I was afraid of what that might look like and what that would continue to have a negative impact on our relationship. So,
yeah, just kind of wondering, will I actually make it? Sounds so familiar to me. It was one of the reasons I didn't really tell anyone I was doing it because I had tried to quit drinking before or tried to take breaks. Was that similar for you or was this the first?
No, absolutely. It was that, I'm only gonna drink on the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
Or I think a lot of us are familiar with that. And then naturally would go to work on Monday, quite often with a hangover because that Sunday would just, I would take full advantage of that Sunday, even though I told myself my cutoff was noon or 2 or whatever the case is. You start drinking early in the day with a mimosa and you can still get a nice buzz and be sober by the end of the day and everything's fine, but it never was.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so familiar with the Sunday thing. And sometimes I was really able to shut it down by like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. I don't know how, but it was never good on Monday. Like,
Yeah.
it still didn't help, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, what was I thinking?"
Right.
What was your experience like during your first 30 days of being alcohol-free, and were there any unexpected moments of clarity or difficulty?
I'm looking back now, at day 110, which is just incredible. I don't know. I feel weird to say that no, I really didn't. And I think just because it was just I was kind of in that grind, it's just one foot in front of the other. So I didn't really have that, clarity or even I'll be honest, I didn't really have that difficulty because things had been so bad right before that. And I hate to use the word easy because we all know this journey is not easy.
Yeah.
But that was enough to kind of sustain me and get me through, those first 30 days for sure.
Mhm.
For myself personally, I know not everybody leans into this, but there are so many good alcohol-free options now, so for me, it really helped to lean in heavily to that NA beer or that NA wine. So, and I continued, to utilize that, just a glass of Chardonnay, alcohol-free Chardonnay.
Yeah.
So that was helpful and continues to be.
That leads us right into our next question perfectly, because I was gonna ask you what tools or strategies or resources did you find most helpful from the 30-day challenge?
Oh, well, the best part is I don't know how to pick a best part, so I should go back, but, the fact that it is a safe community,
Mhm.
it's not it's totally separate from any type of social media. You're in a separate group. I remember that July kickoff call being very raw emotions, being shared. And I feel like in particular, oddly enough, it was a group of middle-aged women,
It
Uh,
really was in that July group, I remember that, it was cool.
yeah, it really wasn't. Like, I think that there are a lot of middle-aged women, if you will, just kind of in this struggle of, dealing with those biological changes while trying to maintain our careers, to, keep up with our children, going through those kind of big life milestones, that it's a challenging time. So that safe community was very refreshing and that everybody was so open. Obviously, I love that the resources you put out there, the week by week, is just perfectly, if you will, progressive. But you do have the option to maybe skip ahead if something is really speaking out to you.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and jump to that content beforehand if that's something that you're really needing right at the moment on those different weeks. Of course, the journal and the workbook is fantastic. And I think most importantly, because you don't see this with every, I don't know if you want to call it program out there, right? There are a lot of social media groups kind of doing these alcohol free things. And like I said, I resonated with you first and foremost, just so many other things you said. And I thought, this is my group, that this is my gal here. At any rate, these resources are available to us long, beyond the 30 days. Like we get to
Yeah.
keep referring back to that. That was important to me because I almost feel waiting for the other shoe to drop because those first 30 days were so easy for me.
Mhm.
I'm like, I know this other shoe's going to drop. When's it going to be? Is it going to be, 2 weeks from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now? This is an ongoing journey where you're not just done with it. You can continue to have hard days when you think you're over it and something can happen, something can hit you. It could be 2 years later and you think, oh my, I really need to dig into these resources. And they're still there for you. They
Yeah.
don't expire after the 30 days. And I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's even cool to me that I watch people come back and say, "Okay, I'm either doing it again," or in the comments supporting people who have already like, they've already done it and they know the next round is happening, and they're just in there cheering people on. I'll get little alerts when there's not a challenge, a live challenge happening, and it'll be, "Oh, somebody commented," and I'm like, "I wonder what it is," and it's people in there supporting each other, and
I
I
love
am blown away by that. It's very cool. I'm really glad you appreciate the lifetime access because I think sometimes people forget. I'm like, "Go back, watch it, keep printing off the
absolutely
journal over and over and over. It's there for you." So,
wonderful.
and then how did your mindset shift during or after your first 30 days of being alcohol free?
I think that as the days go on, you just feel every day a little bit more of that shame and guilt kind of drops off. You just kind of feel yourself just becoming more free every day. It's kind of like the Chicago song, feeling stronger every day.
Yeah.
And I continue to feel that way. And I don't always check my Nomo clock, which is the app that you recommended, which I love. It's just like you said, the simple clock.
So
Uh,
basic.
Yep, so basic counter. I don't obsess about that truly, but sometimes I'll say, "Oh, let me click on this and see where I'm at." And then today it was 110.
I
And
love
and
that.
I'm a musical fanatic, so I always have just a lot of songs and a lot of music running through my head. So this feeling stronger every day, is it's really how it feels as you continue to take each day, each step forward for me.
Yeah. No, I relate with that a lot. And when you said you just feel free, you really do. And it's hard to explain to people why you feel so free because it's kind of hard to put into words even for yourself in the beginning. You're like, why am I feeling so amazing? Why is this one changing this one thing making so much change? And I was gonna go back to you saying you're waiting for that other shoe to drop. Like when's it gonna get hard? And I have to tell you, I work with somebody who started in January of 2024. Still hasn't happened for her. She keeps saying, she's like, I mean, is it gonna get hard? I'm like, it doesn't have to get hard.
I
So
love that.
I just wanted to tell you that, like, it doesn't have to get hard. Obviously, life is hard, but I think so many people can overcomplicate their alcohol free journey. And that's more when you aren't just closing the door to alcohol. When you really just make that shift, it really is kind of easy. I don't wanna
Right.
say that because I know it is a struggle, it is a big change, and there are parts of it that are just strange to navigate, but I just
Right.
wanted to encourage you. You can ride that pink cloud for a long time.
Great.
And I even feel like I kind of fell off the pink cloud somewhere in my between 4 and 5 years, and I was like, "Oh, I really want that feeling back." And then I just kinda started looking for all those, like, silver linings, I guess, and saying, "Well, what's the good part of being alcohol free?" And quickly you're brought back to, "Okay, this is why I'm doing it."
Right.
So how has your life changed since you quit drinking? It's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. Again, just I talked about showing up to work, on Mondays with the hangover or sometimes even having to call in because I was too hungover. And so, not to put my professional life first, but obviously, I mean, professionally, it's better. I feel like I can handle those work stresses better, which is funny because a lot of us drink because of the work stress, right?
Right?
And then again, that's how you get in your downward spiral
Mhm.
because it only makes it worse.
Oh, yeah.
But obviously, most important is my family. And so I feel proud when well, now actually he just turned 12. I said he was 11 earlier. My oldest, my 12-year-old said, "Oh, yeah, mommy doesn't drink alcohol anymore." And I'm like, and that's the way it's going to continue to be. I want him perhaps when, he's 16, 17, that age where, kids might start experimenting.
Mhm.
I want him to remember, my mom stopped drinking when I was 12, and just the difference that has made in my life and in our lives moving forward. I just hope that that's something he can go back on as he's making choices in the future.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I know you and your husband, Sarah, did this together,
Yeah.
and that he actually was the one who started it up.
Yeah, that sneaky guy.
Yeah. So my situation is the reverse. My husband, and he still drinks, but he's never had a problem with drinking. So, he's the drinker that can maintain, and that's okay if he still has a drink or two after work. It doesn't bother me one bit. Sometimes I even make his drink for him, and truly it doesn't phase me. Now, if I was having a struggle or wasn't comfortable with that, of course he would, something differently to support, but I knew it was gonna take some time to gain his trust back, and I don't even know, nor does he, the answer to how long is it gonna take to let go of that fear. He never really vocalized just how fearful he was, when obviously there was an invisible wall. Like I said, he never vocalized. I never vocalized, but we both knew that there was
Mhm.
like just this wall dividing us. So obviously, after 25 years together, I saw that wall coming down, I have just been really enjoying the day to day with him and just seeing him. I can tell he's more at ease. We don't talk about it a lot. We really don't. But I know he's proud, but I also know that he too perhaps is waiting for that other shoe to drop. And so might
Yeah.
take a very long time for him to feel, safe is the word, but I can tell too that the wall is starting to crumble and we're feeling closer together. So that obviously is wonderful.
Yeah, that is such a gift when you start to feel close to your partner again, or your relationship just changes in a more positive way. And I was actually going to say, have you noticed any changes in your relationships? But you answered that one. But any changes in social interactions outside of your family now that you're alcohol free? Has that been easy to navigate, difficult, or?
Sure. Well, I'm kind of antisocial.
Me too.
Aside from work and the soccer games and I don't have a friend circle, if you will. I just really don't. We have a small farm, if you will, so it's like work and then come home to the animals type of situation. So, I will say we did something as a family. We went to this golfing establishment for, my son wanted to go. And this is probably the first time where I was, these people were drinking these draft beers and I knew the color of that beer. And I was like, oh, favorite. That was probably the toughest time. And I will say we've not been out to a restaurant. We've not been out to Mexican food because I know I will want a margarita or a chelada. And I know that
Hmm.
that would be a difficult moment to navigate. So I'll be honest, I've just been avoiding those situations, that not that it's caused any detriment, of any sort
Yeah.
to avoid some things. So, socially, I would just say again, I'm just feeling more confident, more like I don't, have to hide and shame because that's what I was doing. I
Hmm.
had obviously just put on a ton of weight because of all the drinking. My health I knew was suffering. My kids would have friends sleep over and I'd ask the parents to come and pick their kid up because, I had bad allergies and I had taken antihistamines and I wasn't sure if I could drive. And really, I couldn't drive because I'd already started drinking that morning.
Yeah.
So I don't have to tell those lies anymore. I don't have to be in that shame anymore, which is wonderful.
It's so freeing. It really is the best thing. But I love when you say too, and I just come home to my animals. I'm like, we are like the same person as I can hear my chickens outside. I'm like, I hope they're not being picked up on the recording. But I was like, I get that. And I totally get to the not wanting to go to the Mexican restaurant. I remember those little they were very little like milestones that you have to cross. And
Right.
it's just you just have to be smart about the timing and eventually, you just kinda get past it. I still ask at every Mexican restaurant, "Do you have a virgin margarita?" And they always go, "Well, I guess." Like, a lot of times I live in a very small town too, and then I'll look at the waitress and be like, "Is it gonna be good?" And she's like, "No." I'm always like, "Oh my god, when are you people gonna figure out I need this drink right now? I don't need it." But it is just kinda like, oh man, those things you kinda miss, and it's for me, it's not even that I miss the buzz anymore because I don't even remember what it's like, but it's just that the taste, the feeling that you get, and not the feeling of the buzz, just that, like, I don't know, that, "Ooh, I'm getting a special drink" thing that
Uh-huh.
sometimes those NA drinks can offer. So, I went on a little tangent there. I tend to do that. What are your next steps now that you've completed the 30-day challenge?
Next steps, just to continue moving forward. And I've done some stints in the past where I have stopped drinking. I think one time I went 3 years, without
Mhm.
drinking. And I remember those times. Sometimes it's a minute by minute, you
Yeah.
know, it's not even a day by day, it's a minute by minute. And while I haven't experienced that this go around, like I said, yet, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but I just have to be prepared, for when those things might pop up at any unexpected time. But I just plan on continuing moving forward. I was hoping, I'll be honest, I know you did a thing on like, oh, something about the weight loss,
Mm.
right? You think you're
Yeah.
gonna quit drinking and just all of a sudden like lose all the weight.
Yeah.
Well, I was smart enough. I did know that that was not going to happen, especially at my age. I'm like, nah, I've got some things working against me here.
Oh,
But
I'm so there with you.
not to say, sure, maybe I've lost 10, 15 pounds, but in 110 days.
Yeah.
So I didn't have these wild expectations. But I'll tell you the expectation I did have as I was really hoping for more energy, because I'm just always so tired. And unfortunately, I'm still tired sometimes.
Yeah, and
I
that part
yeah,
can take a little while.
yes.
Definitely.
So, I'm not as energetic as I would like to be, but sorry, I think I digressed as well. But, I think also now that I've gotten, a little more confident that I'm in this far, now I'm feeling like, oh, let me try some new things that I had always been interested, but always put alcohol in front of,
Yeah.
Maybe now I can go ahead and volunteer at the animal shelter on a Saturday morning because I'm not putting drinking first anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe I can start that yoga practice. So things like that are exciting as well.
Yeah, and it's cool too when maybe your energy levels aren't where you want them to be or the weight loss isn't happening. I'm always like, at least I know that alcohol isn't to blame anymore, and it's easier to get to that root cause then. And
Yes.
that's something that keeps me a little more focused. So, what would you say to someone who's on the fence about joining the 30-day alcohol-free challenge?
Oh gosh, I'd say it's okay to dip your toe in. A lot of us, I waited because of fear, but it's
Yeah.
okay to dip your toe in. Just do it now. Don't wait until the next 30-day challenge like I did. You can dip that toe in. You can go day by day. You can start all over. We all have points where we have had to start all over, and that's okay. And even if you're not fully on board to the commitment, like you said, you weren't sure you were going to go past the 30 days, right?
Yeah.
This was just, I'll please my husband. I'll do the 30 days and isn't probably going to take. So just go ahead, dip your toe in. You can't beat the value. Again, I've seen other social platforms doing alcohol free stuff, and nothing beats not only your personality and what you do here, Sarah, but the value is really the best. And the fact that we continue to have access to these resources. And like you said, hop in at any time and encourage somebody else. And I
Yeah.
think we all know that when you are encouraging someone else, that gives you more strength as well.
It really
Um,
does.
it does.
It's so, so true. Sometimes I tell people, well, that's why I do what I do. There's no way I could go back to drinking now. It's like,
Right.
well, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I really appreciate it. And things like this, like you said, are going to help other people be like, oh, I hear myself in Pamela's story. I can try this too. And you're so right about the dip your toe in and just try. I always tell people, like, I knew what my drinking life looked like. I didn't know what it looked like to be a non-drinker as an adult. So I thought I might as well try. And the worst thing that, well, I don't know. There's many things that could have happened, but always told myself, if I don't like it, I can go back to drinking. But most people are kind of like, turns out I really like it. This
Right.
alcohol-free thing is pretty catching.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this interview. If you're feeling inspired to try out the 30-day alcohol-free challenge, just check out the link in the show notes of this episode. And as always, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, be sure to leave a review and subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already. Thanks for listening. I'll be in your ear in the next episode.